Hello, friends. Greetings to all of you, and wishing you all a fantastic new year. We have a very interesting guest with us today, and I like to welcome Gautam for the first episode of this year, From Ordinary to Extraordinary. Thank you, Gautam, for joining us. I will go to the introduction in a moment. So
No,
I'm
thank
in
you,
my
Covey. It's an
excitement.
absolute pleasure to be with you. Thank you for the warm welcome. An absolute pleasure to be with you on your podcast and looking forward to a meaningful conversation.
Thank you, Gautam. And I was, for example, going through your book, Breaking Bread, and it was interesting to read the stories, your experiences, which you have gone through, and that itself is, many ordinary actions leading to various extraordinary outcomes, and the people and the connections you have built, especially in the region, in the Middle East and in India and other parts of the world over the years. So we will come to those stories as we discuss. So again, to our audience, thank you for joining us today for and yet another inspiring live session titled From Ordinary to Extraordinary. Whether you are tuning in to seek motivation, gain clarity, or learn from real world experiences, you are in here for an enriching journey. So, this is about growth, transformation, and small yet meaningful steps that can lead to extraordinary outcomes. So, come on, share your thoughts in the chat. What questions, if you have, please feel free. So, just a few words about our guest. So, we are honored to have Gautam Ganglani. He's the chief executive of Right Selection and often known as the Chief Energizing Officer. So, a published author and a relationship builder with career spanning over 30 years in various spaces in the entrepreneurial space, and worked with iconic thought leaders. Whenever in my previous organization I have heard, reach out to Gautam if you want visionary speakers, world class thought leaders to be brought in. So I have heard your name often being in the conversation in the HR space, learning and development space, whenever we interact with senior stakeholders. So I like to highlight a couple of thought leaders with whom Gautam works. Like one is Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, and Jack Canfield, Stephen M.R. Covey, and he has connections with various global platforms. And today we will explore how these all happened. So, Gautam, it is an honor to have you. And so let me dive into my first question.
Sure.
So, so if you look back, you have been studying in UK, and then how was your steps to the career world? What was your thoughts when you completed your studies, and can you take us back to the early days of your career? What was your first professional experience like?
Sure. So, thanks, Phoebe. I mean, I was born and brought up in London, so my entire foundational years of my education from O levels, A levels to university was all in the UK. And I had obviously graduated in business and finance, and my dad had relocated from between West Africa, Europe, and eventually was in Dubai in 1993. So I joined him in 95, and he said, let's enjoy this for 6 months and enjoy the experience. And if it resonates with you, then obviously you're welcome to expand. And before that, he even suggested that I travel to different parts of Asia. So I spent some time in Hong Kong, in Singapore, and Jakarta for a short time, staying with family. and just understanding the different cultural experiences and business diversity in those days. And yes, we joined Dad in the same brand name as Right Selection. It was a business self-help bookstore, and that's where the foundation started as a business bookstore, retail store serving corporate clients, helping them build a library of personal and professional growth. You know, so that was really the kickoff start in that business that we did now 30 years back.
Yeah, thank you. So, so so that was a step into the entrepreneurial world of family business. So, how did it shape your ambitions? What was it like, especially you coming out of your studies, experiencing the world? What was that, and how was it shaping you?
Sure. I mean, for me, I took a leap of faith in joining my dad in this business. It was for me, and my dad said, he said, explore for 6 months with an open mind. And if you enjoy the experience, then obviously you can take it forward and you will thrive. And if not, then the experience will help you, because in life is full of experiences, and we either learn or we thrive from every experience. And so, what I loved about the nature of having the bookstore was the quality of people you meet, because the
Mm,
books were all non-fiction books. So, in fact, it came in the front page of the Gulf News tabloid, that first self-help bookstore in Dubai. There were many
mm,
bookstores already in Dubai back, but they were mostly having fiction and children's books. But there was no non-fiction self-help bookstore. So it was newsworthy for tabloid to cover it on the front page. And the quality of people that came, those days you had your books by Deepak Chopra, Stephen Covey, and many other renowned authors. And the business world, you had Tom Peters, you had Philip Kotler, and people would come and buy these books. And what you realize is the people who come are people who value learning, and it attracts a certain quality of like-minded, like-hearted people. It resulted in some real quality and meaningful conversations, and I like, this is really giving me a lot of happiness and fulfillment, because when you meet quality people, it doesn't feel like a business of transaction or of generating business, but ultimately it's a feels like a business of deep meaning, and where you're
mm,
helping people learn, you're helping people grow, you're helping people evolve, helping people become better versions of themselves, solve challenges through education. So pretty much that foundation prompted me to say, this is something I'd like to build with my dad. And together, that's the journey that we built, from books to then audios to then videos to helping companies build a library. And we did that for about 10 years.
mm,
It all
mm,
started with that small step of a small bookstore with 50 books to expanding to 1,000 books, and helping leading companies across the Gulf build a bookstore. Um,
mm,
and that led to the next phase, which was bring the authors of the most popular books for live events, and that's how it triggered those events with Brian Tracy and Marshall Goldsmith and Stephen Covey and Ron Kaufman, Tony Buzan, and many others who started coming to the Gulf region for public programs.
mm.
Yeah, it was a journey of growth and organic growth, from a bookstore to public programs to then in-house engagements to executive coaching. So it's been a thoroughly enjoyable transformation, and it all started with baby steps. And you take one step at a time, and consistency, that makes a difference.
Okay, so one aspect which often resonated when I was reading your book was the connection building process which you've taken, and uh, again connecting back that from bookstore to bringing the authors. What was that? But was there a particular turning point in that space? From a as a business as an entrepreneur, how that transition happened? Is there any significant instance or incident or um, conversations behind that?
Yeah, I guess, as I said, when we started with the retail bookstore, then we started supplying companies. Then very large conference organizers that existed in Dubai were looking for someone to display books at their events. So we started displaying books at other people's events and conferences. And that's when we saw, wow, this is another business altogether. It's, we're selling books, that's fine. But there's a direct connect between selling books at events, and people are coming to those events because those books are popular, those books are adding value, those books are transforming lives. And that was a trigger point. After 3 4 years of displaying books at various large events in the region, we started saying, okay, let's look at bringing speakers ourselves, and from having a presence of just books to audios and videos, to then being prompted to say, let's bring the authors of live events. Our first event was actually with a speaker by the name of Bob Urichuk. And we just announced the event to all our clients who read books. And we managed to get 130 people to come for a 1 day program just from a list of people who buy books. So we were very encouraged with that. And we did that in collaboration, and then independently went forward to bring our own events.
Yeah, that's interesting. So, the innovation in live innovation happening in that process, when you find out, yes, this is a need in the market, and that's good. I think that is the relationship marketing, which is, I think, what I'm sensing from the
Absolutely.
story which you shared.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Now, yes, every journey have obstacles, challenges which you face. Can you share some challenging experiences? Like entrepreneurship have its own challenges, and something which might have pushed you out of your comfort zone at that moment, and which might have led to another offering or service which later you are doing right now.
Sure, Phoebe. I mean, what triggers from your conversation is actually goes back to why I'm in this business. And I was in a coaching session with one of my several coaches that I've worked with over the years, and he sort of prompted me to understand, why I do what I do, and I realized that it went back to a very difficult time as a teenager in the UK, where I was in a school where I was bullied, I was teased, I was humiliated. My self esteem was rock bottom, my confidence was low. And I went to my dad and I had a conversation with him about this. I said, I'm not in a good space, and I'm just facing all these challenges. And he said, son, I mean, two things are constant in life, no matter how successful you become, is that change and challenges are constant. And we've seen it throughout our years. Today we had COVID 4 5 years back. That was a change. Whether whatever level of success you had, everyone was exposed to COVID. It was a challenging time, and we all had to evolve and change. Even in today's time, while people are back now, it's very common to do virtual meetings, which wasn't so common 5 6 years back. So change and challenges are constant. And what he said is that, the three pieces of advice I'd give you when you face these challenges, these obstacles, is surround yourself with the right people, people who are uplifting, encouraging, inspiring. Continuously learn from people, books, podcasts, learn from video. And above all is take action. We can keep learning, but when you take action or you execute on ideas, then you will transform. So to answer your question, really, that's one reason I started Right Selection, is to be in the business of helping people who are facing whatever challenges they are facing, business, relationship, financial, and provide knowledge in the business. So every time we face a challenge in our 30 years of business, I've asked myself, who do I need to learn? I mean, who do I need to spend time with? And what do I need to learn, and what action do I need to take? So challenges have come at every stage over the last 30 years. You were in a bookstore and you felt your business has grown only so much. What's next? Then we said, we asked people, they said, bring the authors of the live events, we'd love to attend. Then you did that. Then the large company said, we won't come for a public program. Again, you said, what can we do? Bring the speakers for private events. Then we realized leadership is lonely at the top. We've heard that again. It became more lonely in COVID time. We said, okay, now what? Okay, coaching, because people would like to have an independent coach who, with a helicopter view, who's not in the business, and to give you different perspectives. So we've constantly evolved, innovated, um, facing these challenges by surrounding ourselves with good quality people, learning and taking action. And that way you've always focused on, growth, and not getting stuck in, doing things a certain way.
Thank you for sharing that, and that leads to a couple of questions which you already answered. Because I read that perspective which you shared from a personal challenge perspective, and what your father has guided you in that process. So surround yourself with the right people, dedicate time to continuous learning, and take action. That 3 points. Very meaningful and very right all the time, and it drives us to the third point, take action. So that so what is the story behind this book? So I just like to, so there will be an instance I should bring that thought process within me to the world when you were thinking
Sure.
about
I mean,
where did that idea generate?
you see, we've worked with authors and speakers for so many years, and many of my friends and family members sometimes and clients would say, Gautam, when are you writing your book? And I'm like, I'm not sure about writing a book, but we'll see. And what happened in COVID is that, I suddenly realized there's no time like the present to write a book because you're at home, you have ample time, and it's a golden opportunity to write a book. And I was like, what will I write this book about? And coincidentally, I was invited for a speakers summit in India, in Goa. And they said, we want to learn from you how you build relationships, because we see whether it's with people who are younger than you, of your own age, people who are older, people, thought leaders, renowned people, you seem to be a people's person. So I said, sure, I don't want to just call my keynote, relationship building. And there was a term in the UK which we have used called breaking bread, which, basically it's, whether you have breakfast, lunch, or dinner, it's like having an energy exchange over a meal and emotionally connecting with people. Everyone's busy being busy, sometimes in a transactional mindset. But once you slow down and take time to get to know someone personally, professionally, which happens over a meal, and that's why I put this topic, breaking bread. And I did a talk for these 50 speakers. At the end of the speech, there was it was recorded and it was transcribed, and I'm like, wow, this is a great start to writing a book, because you have a transcription of your presentation. And that was the foundation, and that encouraged me to, like, oh, I've got a book that I can make out of this, and I can add some true stories. And I shared 5 different ways to breaking bread, not only in meals. How do you communicate over an email? How do you communicate on social media? How do you communicate virtually? Because breaking bread is not only about a meal, it's really about, as I said, emotionally connecting with your audience. And then there's a connection which is long lasting and not transactional. So that's how the book got created. And I said, I want to make sure this book is thin with a large font, because in today's times, people's attention spans have reduced. So the book should be easy to read, simple yet profound. And that's what sort of initiated the book Breaking Bread.
Thank you for that sharing that story. Yeah, so I think you took that action as the advice, taking action and making sure that the work is out. Now, moving forward, the next question which I have is, like now you are leading the organization, and what has been most important factor in inspiring and guiding others towards success? So, being an entrepreneur and CEO of an organization, what are some of your thoughts on leadership?
So to me, leadership is a much spoken about subject, and it keeps evolving. But I think at the end of the day, uh, a leader needs to lead by example, be a good role model. And one of the traits which I said is, someone who's passionate about learning, because when you are learning, even a leader needs to upskill himself. And constantly, we all have our different strengths and our different areas of improvement. Personally, my leadership style is people driven. So to me, there are different types of leaders out there, but I definitely lead with people in a very inclusive manner, and look to sort of connect with the team and get collective input when we make decisions. Value everyone's opinion. I usually try to speak last in a team meeting, because you want everyone to feel heard. Otherwise, sometimes as a leader, if you speak first, people feel that there's not much to add. So, simple things of just being a good role model, contributing, sharing, great Empathy is very important, and being a good listener. I think in listening you get all the clues, because everyone's going through different things at different times. And ultimately is communication. That is the absolutely non-negotiable, is to be a good communicator. Because once you're a good communicator supported with a good listener, then everything is, in good times you're able to thrive, and in challenging time you're able to be patient, be understanding, and be supportive at the same time. And to me, these are some of the traits that really resonate with me.
Thank you. And one of the stories from the book which I recollect is that you inviting a speaker through the social connections, especially for a mental well-being session with great place to work.
Right, right.
So I just like to, this is the social media world, and you shared that it was through that social connections that you came across that person. So just like to hear that story, how that, you are not known to that person, but totally strange. And again, to my audience, my interaction with Gautam was in couple of events only, and he was willing to uh, support me in this event. So Gautam, like to hear how you approached that situation. I don't.
Sure, sure. As I said, I'm a people's person and I love connecting. So, great place to work, hosting a conference, and, mental health and well being was a very important subject matter. So, I realized there was a well known author who had just released a book around this subject. So I decided to, at that time, connect with her on Instagram, and wrote a message complimenting her on her book and telling her about the good timing of the book and the benefits of this event, and shared that there's an event being organized with over 1,000 participants, and I'd really welcome the opportunity to connect with her, and invite her to speak at this event and have the book as a like a launch to these companies. So that was an email that went, and then via my own network, I found out someone who knew her personally, so got a message sent to her. And then within the same month, it's like whether you call it manifestation, and suddenly she was speaking at a private event, and I had an invite to that event. So I sat in the front row, and I kept in mind I'm going to ask a very good question, because then you interact. And I asked a great question, had an interaction, and at the end of that session, I met with her and introduced myself. And she said, I recall receiving the message on social media, and we connected at that time. And a month later, she was on a fireside chat at the annual conference with 1,000 delegates, and her books were given out to all the delegates. So I guess it is a combination of online and offline, communicating, um, with with emotion and appreciation, and building goodwill, and ultimately it led to a beautiful opportunity and a great connection.
Yeah, so I really like the approach which you have taken in a total stranger, and you come across that in that book publishing in a specific space, and then trying to connect and um, bring. And again, I see taking action as another example there. And you mentioned the word affirmations, and what I really loved in the book is the number of affirmations at various spaces you have um, brought in. Now I just like to know what was the story behind affirmations, and how I think you have been very much influenced by that affirmations. And I really loved the affirmations. Like one which I just marked is, with each door I open, and every person I meet, new opportunities come my way.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, no, affirmations has been omnipresent in my entire life, and that is thanks to my dad, Mr. Ram Ganglani. So he had written a book called The Magical Book of Affirmations, and this was written in collaboration with the renowned global author named Jack Canfield, who was famously known for the book's series called Chicken Soup for the Soul, which has sold in millions of copies around the world, and the book The Success Principle. So my dad approached Jack Canfield when we were engaging him, and told him that I'd love to convert your books into affirmations, So they act as a sort of anchor, summary, reinforcement, and that prompted him. And from a very young age, my dad had always these affirmation cards, and he would place them at different places in the house, on the fridge, on our bedside, and you'd see these positive affirmations around, which just were inspiring, encouraging, uplifting. So to me, affirmations has been a part of our childhood days. My dad releasing his book with Jack Canfield reinforced that. So when I wrote this book, I said, let me keep affirmations around the topic of networking, relationship building, to complement the content that I put in the book, because it's been a very important part of my life. And even till today, every day as a team, we share an affirmation on a group, and we all verbally, in our own voices, say the affirmation, and we hear each other's voices as we start every day. So my dad puts a unique affirmation every day on a WhatsApp group, and all five team members repeat the affirmation in words aloud. So it's made a big difference in my life, and I hope it can impact those who have the opportunity to interact with different affirmations.
Yeah, beautiful story. So, have you in your personal conversation? I think I have to have another conversation with your father at the appropriate time. But I just like to know: have you just checked with your father? Father, how have you got influenced by affirmations? Is there any story behind that?
I don't know the story in its entirety, but from my knowledge, see, the affirmations was founded, to my knowledge, by a lady called Louise Hay. She wrote a book, You Can Heal Your Life. She was known as the Queen of Affirmations, and her books were published by Hay House. There was a beautiful human being by the name of Rageshwari also, who used to sing affirmations. So between Louise Hay's books 30, 40 years ago to the beautiful voice of Rageshwari, that would have been an omnipresent part of my dad's life, which attracted him into the affirmations. And he's another person. Once he likes something, he'll reinforce it by sharing it.
Hmm. Again, another ordinary actions which have ripple effect
Yeah,
on the next generation of, and that is beautiful.
that's the beauty. Consistent, ordinary actions lead to extraordinary outcomes. Some people think I have to do this big activity or this big activity. You know, I mean, people, they give this example. It's better to go to the gym 30 minutes a day than 2 hours once a week, because 30 minutes a day is ordinary, but it's consistent, and that creates extraordinary outcomes, extraordinary results. So it's the
Mm.
consistent baby steps. For me, read 15 minutes of a book a day keeps my brain thinking, keeps it alert, keeps it fresh, keeps it inspired. If you just read, oh, I'll read only on the weekend, then. So to me, even the self-care activities that each of us have, some more than others, is every morning you have different self-care activities, whether it's reading, listening to an audio, journaling, meditating, yoga, whatever gets you to be in the best space of mind in the morning is a great way to start your day, because you plan your day and you should take care of yourself first. You and I can only give others what we have inside of ourselves. So that's
Yeah.
where affirmation plays a role, because we want to be in a good state of mind, positive, uplifting mindset.
Mm. No, that's very powerful, and uh, that leads to another question. Sometimes, like in this world, we know that for sometimes, for example, someone starting out in their career or taking the first steps after their studies, what next? Or someone in the navigating through crossroads, like maybe there is a layoff event happening, or maybe they are in the middle of a merger, or because of that they are looking for the next step. Now, if you look back in your own journey, what advice would you offer for people in that space, what to find motivation,
Means when they're starting a career, or
or in the crossroads with struggles? People have their waves of ups and downs, and sometimes, like, this is something which I have experienced with. uh, I was working with a financial organization, and we had a merger, three-way merger, and um, there are many people who have been given the notice for layoff, and it was struggling time for many of the members. So there are people in our society who are in those midst, either in entering, I couldn't find an opportunity now, or people who are struggling in such an work situation. So what ways from your experience maybe helping them to take the next pivot, or next ordinary actions which they can take to move into a new space?
Yeah, I mean, everyone comes across different challenges, bottlenecks, crossroads. Obviously, if you lose a job or you change countries or you're looking for something new, it's never easy for anybody. From my experience, personally, firstly, I have to take care of myself, and you have to take care of yourself, and that's where I said whether it's exercise or, as we say, movement. So physically, be active, reading books, listening to podcasts, listening to audible books, reflecting your thoughts by writing. All of these are self care activities because you need to be in a positive state of mind, because otherwise, in crossroads and bottlenecks, you could go into a negative mindset. And obviously, when you take care of yourself, then that's firstly the most important in my mind. And otherwise, for me, as I said, it's about surrounding yourself with good people. So understanding what are the networks out there, where can you join, where can you attend, because when you attend networks, you learn, you meet other people, you have conversations. And best career transitions happen by connect but through people. When people meet you, they get to know you personally, and then they hear of your experience. And the more people you meet and tell about you're looking for a challenge, or looking for a solution to a challenge, whether it's a job or it's a different challenge, people are there to help you, guide you, refer you. So to me, being in a good state of mind, physically, emotionally, mentally, and then networking in the right associations, according to your industry or according to the job, and then when you meet enough people, it opens doors. That's been my experience.
Yeah, so very true. People these days, especially after COVID, there is a reluctance for many to come out and meet people. So I think that is a space where I think a lot of value can be received and shared. So thanks for sharing that. And I know we are almost reaching the time, but there are two more questions which I just like to uh, uh, ask before we close up.
Sure, please.
One is looking back. So you are 30 years of exposure in this industry. What are some of the most, you know, eventful, or what I'm very much proud of this happened in terms of the impact. And again, I personally have been impacted by the work which you have done. The very recent one is with uh, the Robin Uthappa event with the NHRD in Dubai. Fantastic speaker. Thanks for having bringing him as a speaker and the opportunity to participate. And of course, your book. So, in terms of the impact which you look back, something which stood out for you.
Yeah, I mean, there have been many moments in the years which have really been unique, but one of them that stands out was when the first time we hosted Jack Canfield in Dubai. It took about 3-4 years before we got his approval to join us, and we did events in Dubai, Mumbai, and Bangalore. And when we hosted him in Dubai, it was a venue called Duck Tack, which is a theater with 540 plus seats near Mall of Emirates, and we partnered with a renowned company locally as a sponsor, and we marketed that event like we do all our events. And we actually had an absolute full house for the event, and that was very fulfilling to know that we were able to host a renowned global authority like Jack Canfield, who's sold millions and millions of books, to have him on stage. And he, in his testimonial, said, I've been on many stages. We've had good audiences, but it's not very often you have a genuine, ultimate full house where you had to say no to clients because all the seats were taken. And People were just so inspired by that experience. So the full house of 540 people, plus the testimonial from Jack, and people's just appreciation that people have to travel for such knowledge, and you're bringing the world's best speakers here to Dubai and giving us an opportunity to learn from these speakers. So that to me was one of the many highlights. And obviously, there are many others with Ron Kaufman, who we brought every single year on customer service experience, and Marshall Goldsmith. So these are other sort of special moments in the journey. Thank you.
No, I think the first one is always something which we cherish, and the impact is still fresh in our minds. And this is a question from your own book, and I thought that will be the best way to close the session. And it is from page 6, and I found it very, very interesting, so I marked it. The question is, how are you responding to the events in your life today?
Interesting. No, those golden words of my dad are embedded in my very being, and I remember those questions every single day. So whether it's a positive event, or a challenging one, there's actually a philosophy in Jack Canfield's book which says E plus R equals O, and that stands for event plus response equals outcome. So events are not necessarily in your or my control. Things happen unplanned, things happen which are planned, and life is full of events, whether it's your business events, personal events, special occasions. Every day is an event. How do you respond to that event will determine the outcome you have. The outcome might be a positive one, it could be learning, it could be a negative. Many people have attending the same event, but they have a different um, reaction and a different response, and that has a different outcome that they all experience. That's why E plus R equals O by Jack Canfield is sort of my philosophy of how I respond to the events, and obviously keeping in mind my dad's philosophy of right people, learning, and taking action.
I think that is the best way to close the session. Thank you. Thank you, Gautam, for the insightful and very interesting conversation. So, E plus R equals outcome. Event
Absolutely.
plus response.
Response equals outcome.
Yeah. So, thank you for your time today and joining me in this conversation. Dear friends, I couldn't take the questions because I'm excited with a lot of things which I noted. I thought of having engaging in the conversation with Gautam. Please share your thoughts in the comments in the LinkedIn or YouTube. So we will try to reach out and get some answers to those things later. Thank you. Thank you, Gautam.
Thank you so much, Phoebe. It's been an absolute pleasure and privilege to be on your LinkedIn Live. Wishing you and all your viewers a life of extraordinary experiences.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.